Well, here we are. It is Friday again, and it's April 3rd, 2026. And as many of you know, there were not a lot of auctions last week that finished up. There's not a lot of results to report. It was very quiet. There are not a lot of new auctions that turned up. We did find a few, we always do, but right now, after Asia Week, you have sort of a lull, and you'll be seeing, I think, some pretty good auctions turning up toward the end of this month. Earlier this week, we did a preview sale of a preview video for the Eldridge sale that's coming up on Cape Cod in a week or so, in 5 days, I think, from now. Good looking sale if you're a China trade collector, some rare forms. And we did a review of the results over at Freeman's, which I thought they did awfully well. It's following along with Doyle and all the other sales. So, and we'll do some more price results videos as we go along this week, or next week. But for now, we're going to talk about things that are coming up because I don't have a lot of results to report on this week. There just weren't that many. A couple of sales that turned up that I want to make you aware of, especially if you buy Japanese things. The Potomack Auction Company, which many of you know about and some of you might not know about. They're down in Virginia, very near Washington. They're in Alexandria, very close to Washington. It's an old company. They've been around for years. I've talked about them in the past a number of times. It's a good company. I like them. I bought from them. I've been very satisfied. They're very helpful as far as getting things shipped and all that stuff, the little things. But you can go to their site. It's very easy to register. And they've got a sale coming up on the 15th of April in 11 days. 11 days, 18 hours, and 1 minute as of right now. All right. Now, one of the things a little bit confusing, if you go to their website, you're going to find this auction listed twice for some reason. I have no idea why. Maybe their webmaster made a mistake. There's down here the April 15th sale, and up here's the April 15th sale. It doesn't matter which button you click. It's the same auction. All right. But there's a number of things in here. It's particularly heavy this week. I'm noticing a lot of pretty good Japanese things turning up in the market. And as you know, the Japanese markets had a bit of a revival in the last year or two. We're starting to see some very good increases in value in Japanese porcelain over in the UK. I've talked about it a bunch of times because it could be a bellwether of where things are going. And the other Amari pieces, the Arita pieces, the early Arita especially, have come onto the market and done quite well. Maybe there's a renewed interest in collecting the material. I don't know. It seems awfully undervalued for what it is when you consider the valuations of Japanese art over the last few years in the auction market. It's been very soft, except for the outliers like the Great Wave, the prints and those sorts of things. They've always done very well. But in general, the Japanese market's been pretty soft. And now it seems we're starting to see some price movement with porcelains and prints and some other things. So if you're interested in getting into it as a collector, you might want to get started before the prices become prohibitive, because it always seems to happen in every antique market. It's because they're all very cyclical. But the Potomac sale's got a couple of good lots, and I'm going to go through them, just give you some idea, a little bit of a taste of what's in the sale. This is a very nice kodansu. It's a miniature cabinet. This is a very small cabinet. It looks big. It's only 4 by 4 by 3 inches. It's a very small cabinet. And a few months ago, one of these turned up in I don't know whether it was Bonham's or someplace. One of the bigger auction houses had one, as I recall, and it did very well. It brought around $5,000 or so, 5 or 6,000. This is another one. Again, a miniature version. It opens up. It's got nice compartments inside with lacquered sort of waves on the fronts of the drawers. It's estimated at $2,800 to $4,500 with a $1,400 opening bid. It should do pretty well. These are usually of great interest to lacquer collectors. In particular, there's also this very nice Japanese lacquer hand scroll. It's unsigned. What's odd, though, is that I noticed Potomac has seemed to have left out, and I don't know why, they've seemed to have forgotten to include dimensions for a lot of the lots. So if you see something you like, you might reach out to them, ask them what size is it. Some of the lots do have dimensions, others don't. I don't know why. Like the little kodansu we just looked at, that's got the dimensions, but this doesn't. They don't have a length on it. I'm assuming it's 12 to 14 inches in length or something like that. It's estimated at $500 to $700. And the opening bid is $250. But it's a very nice example, very handsome. And these, you don't have to put scrolls on them. them. You can put anything you want on them, but they're very attractive. They're nice bit of decor for your house, even if you're not a big Japanese collector. And then there's this very nice Kojikawa Suzuri Bako, nicely lacquered. It seems to be complete. It's got the brushes, the inkstone, the water dropper, and all that. The lacquer looks like it's in good shape. You always want to get condition reports on lacquer for cracks and chips and so forth, because Japanese lacquer is extremely price sensitive. It's like putting a chip into a piece of porcelain. If you have got a piece of chipped lacquer, or worse yet, a cracked corner or something like that, it has a very big impact on what it's worth. By 80%, 90% can really pull down the value. But if it's in good condition, they bring premium money. And this is a very handsome example. It's estimated at $950 to $1,250, and it is signed by the artist. So it makes it a pretty nice potential acquisition, I think. And then you have this very nice unsigned brazier. It's an 18th century one by the looks of it, Edo period. Very nicely done, finely detailed. Again, there's no dimensions on this. I'm assuming it's 8 or 9 inches tall, somewhere around there. But you want to get the dimensions. Because they didn't bother to include them. Maybe they were rushing. I don't know why. I don't know why people ever leave out stuff like that, but they do. We see it all the time, as you know. It's estimated at $1,100 to $1,500 and has a $550 opening bid. It's quite attractive. I think that's a very handsome object. And then over to this. This is also in the sales. Is very nice. 18th century, Wanli period, not 18th century, probably a Wanli period kendi with fu lions on it. I've always liked kendis, and I know a lot of you do. They're sort of quirky and interesting looking. This is a good one, and the rest estimate on it is a bit low, so you might want to check it out. It's got a fairly low estimate on it. It does have a small repair in the top. Maybe that's why they gave it a low estimate. I think that's a repair. It might not be. It might just be a firing discoloration. You want to check that out. You want to ask them, is that a repair or is that just discoloration? It looks like a repair because it goes up over this corner, but it's still a small one. It's only estimated at $600 to $800, a $300 opening bid, but it's a nice early one. So it's worth investigating. And then there's a nice pair of celadon ground with underglazed blue vases. It has these fungus handles on the side. You'll notice that one of them has a break to the top of the fungi right here. It's missing. It's not like that one there. It looks like it got snapped off, so you might want to get that restored. But other than that, these are very attractive, very handsome-looking vases, and they are, I'm not sure how tall these are. Hold on a minute. They're usually pretty good size. 16 3/4 inches, almost 17 inches tall. These are pretty good size, and the estimate's very low, I think. These are 19th century examples. They're saying 1890 to 1900. That's fair enough. They could be a little earlier, but they are only estimated at $300 to $500 for the pair. And I think they've done that. Maybe there's other damage you can't see here or something, but that seems awfully reasonable for just a small piece of the handle broken off, which could be probably repaired and restored for a couple of $100. Not a big deal to fix. They'll just take an impression or a mold off of one of these and replicate it. It's pretty easy to do. All right, and over to this. This is coming up. This is at the Freeman sale. Down, and that was sort of the end of the Potomac sale. Check it out. There's a lot of interesting things in here. A lot of Japanese stuff. There's a lot of scrolls and paintings and whatnot. You want to go through it. There's some very nice prints, and so check that out. And then over here, this is a Freeman sale. It's coming up on the 23rd of April. It's a couple of weeks away. There's a very, very nice reverse painting on the glass with a mirror front, 18th century, with the original frame on it, which is quite attractive. I love the lotus flowers coming up, and you have these kingfishers swooping down on it and so forth. There's a lot of activity there. These are pretty desirable. There have been other examples of these on the market of this very similar form and type over the years, and they always do quite well. They're very, very decorative, good looking. There's a little deterioration of the silvering to the back of the mirror, which often happens on these because they're very susceptible. But overall, it's a nice looking mirror, and the estimate on it is $3,000 to $5,000 with a $1,500 opening bid. And then they also have this on the sale. Nice big pair of 1780s, mantle urns or garniture urns. These are fairly good sizes, I recall. Yeah, they're 14 1/4 inches in height. Very classically done in that this pattern that you see often on trying to trade pieces from the 1770s, 1780s, and so forth, with the Mandarin ladies standing around in this very nice gilt diaper pattern, and then you have these chimera handles on the sides, and they look to be in pretty good shape. You want to check to see if there's any restoration to the lids, which they often have, and it shouldn't be unexpected. Expect them to have repairs to the lids always. It always seems that one lid gets damaged somewhere along the way. I don't see any on them though, or the food lines get reattached. I don't see anything wrong with them, but you want to check. The estimate's very reasonable, $1,000 to $1,500. That's very low. $500 opening bid. They should bring more than that, given their size, because they're almost 15 inches tall. So expect them to bring 2,000 to 3,000. But if they bring 1,500 or less, you got a bargain. But they're very, very attractive. And also in the sale is this, a pair of bow pots, and they seem to have their original bulb trays on the tops. There they are. All right, and usually, most of the time when you see these days, the bodies are there, but the bulb holders on the top are missing. And in this example, in these examples, they're both here, and there's a handle on them, which is rather unusual. I think these are quite nice, also dating from the 1780s or so, like the previous pair of covered jars. And again, estimated 1,000 to 1,500, and these measure what, about 9 inches, 8 inches tall, 9 inches deep. Or across. I'm not quite sure how they did that, but that's what they're saying. Anyway, 8 to 10 inches. Just look at it that way. 1,000 to 1,500. They're very attractive. And also this. Now this turned up. This is sort of a lone lot at the Hess sale coming up in Florida on the 22nd of April. This is a rather nice Kangxi period dish. It's not a big one. It's 8 3/4 inches, but it looks to be in pretty good shape. The enamels are good. It's done in Chinese amari. It looks fine. It's got the very simple decoration you often see on these pieces on the back. Right here, these sort of quickly, sprigged out little flowers here thrown on there. But there's the foot rim and the back and the bottom. That's exactly how it should look. It looks fine as Kangxi to me. And estimated at just $200 to $400 with a $10 opening bid. There are only 7 people watching it, and that includes, I added it to my watch list. I'm not going to be bidding on it, but I always put things on my watch list to keep track. And it should bring a couple of $100, I would think. But if you're a Kangxi buyer and you like Kangxi amari, it's a good display piece to buy. It's worth it. All right. And Hess is a good company. They've been around forever. And then this is coming up now. There's a sale coming up at Carl Nordblom down in, what is he? He's in Cambridge, Massachusetts, CRN auctions. And he runs 3 or 4 sales, 5 sales a year maybe. He's an old-time auctioneer. He's been around forever. And he and a woman named Karen Phillips run the place. They're awfully nice people. And they've got a couple of China trade pieces coming up. It's a general Americana sale. If you like Americana, you want to keep an eye on Carl Nordblom's sales. He gets great things. He handles part of Bill Samaha's collection, legendary dealer and legendary collector as well. And a lot of well-known collections have gone through Carl Nordblom over the years. He's sort of one of the go-to guys for the Americana crowd, especially, and European stuff. He's very strong in European. But he's got this very nice China trade platter, late 18th century, early 19th century, with this mazarine blue border on it, very nicely done. It's sort of a Nanking pattern here with these little spearheads and an armorial crest. I don't know what the crest is. You'd have to look it up in Howard's to figure it out, but it'll be there. But what's neat about this is that you often see these basins without their inserts, because these inserts are so prone to breaking. They're just a flat piece of porcelain, like a tile, and they're very easy to break. And you often find the bottoms that have this little inside edge here to receive the strainer, and it's long gone. It's long gone. This one has both, and that's quite a good thing. The estimate is $800 to $1,200 with a $400 opening bid. It's very, very pretty. It looks to be in good shape. And you can ask Carl or Karen, either one of them. Get a hold of them if you have any questions. They'll be good about answering them. And it measures 17 inches in length. So this is a pretty big piece of porcelain, 17 inches. All right. And also in the same sale is this, a pair of very nicely done tureens. They're about 13 inches in length, also armorial, also in very, very good shape. They look terrific. And again, the estimate is $1,000 to $1,500 with a $500 opening bid, but they are armorial. And there they are, opened up. One of them has a vegetable divider on the inside. That's a nice feature. Oh, that's good. I like those. Those are nice. So check those out. And what else is coming along here? This is up at Waddington's, up in Canada. They have a sale coming up on the 16th of April, and there's a lot of Japanese stuff and the Chinese stuff in there. I'm not too crazy about. I'm a little suspect of some of it, but they have some good Japanese pieces in the sale, and I'm going to go through some of them just to give you an idea. All right. And importing Japanese stuff isn't quite the headache that importing Chinese things are right now, I don't think, from Canada. But this is Chinese. This is a fairly decent looking Chinese Celadon charger. It measures 14.6 inches in diameter. It's got a $1,200 to $1,500 Canadian estimate. So the Canadian dollar right now, I don't know where it is, about 60 cents to the US. Hold on a minute. Let's see, 72 cents to the dollar. So that would make this $8 to $1,300 estimate, somewhere in there. That seems reasonable. $8 to $1,300. It looks to be in nice condition. There's some floral, carving of flowers on the inside of it. Overall, this looks like a pretty good piece of porcelain. And it probably dates to the 15th century or late 15th, early 16th century. All right, and then hopping along. There we go. There. In this sale, as far as other Chinese things go, this is sort of interesting. I'm pointing this out just to let you know things seem to be changing. This sale has a lot of ivory in it. China trade ivory. All right. And they're all 19th century. They all look very good. If you're in the US, no, you can't bid on them. If you're in Canada, though, for the people that watch from Canada, here's a chance to buy some really good ivory because you're not going to get any competition at all from the United States for it because you will never get a CITES permit to get it across the border legally. All right. And I don't recommend smuggling. It's a very serious charge. So if you're in Canada, you're in luck. You can go buy some very good ivory. If you have friends in Canada that collect, let them know. This is just an example. On the left is this very nice reticulated brush pot. I hate the way they're do. You've got to do the magnifier here. Their pictures don't enlarge very well. I don't know why. This should be able to be enlarged, and they don't do it. So you can use this little magnifier here, and you look at it over on the right. This is a very nice reticulated, probably first half of the 19th century brush pot. Very, very attractive. And it looks to you want to check and make sure that the reticulation isn't damaged. But that's a pretty good one. And this very nice Cantonese card case. These are very, very. I love these things. I own a couple of them, and I just love the way they look. They feel in your hand. The estimate is very modest, 300 to 500 Canadian. So $200 to $350, something like that. That's a bargain for that. That's a bargain. All right, and then here are a couple more card cases. You have this one on the left, which is a figural landscape scene. And then on the right, you have this vase form carved into it. No, we see these before. These vase carved ones with the flat bodies. Pretty well-known type, but they're quite attractive. And again, $600 to $800 Canadian, so $400 to around $600 is the estimate U.S. currency. But if you're in Canada, you bid in Canadian money, and maybe you'll get some. You'll get something for if you're a Canadian citizen, or you're you're going to try to buy them and then get them exported somehow. And then there's this 2 more card cases, another one of these very fine Cantonese cases, as well as a slightly different one, more deeply carved, as a matter of fact, on this one. Again, estimated at 600 to 800 Canadian. And then this, the guanyin, or the lady with the basket. She's not really a guanyin, just a lady holding a basket with some pigments on here. The pigments look to be fairly well intact. Usually they're all worn and faded and so forth. But the green on the basket and the pink on the flowers still looks pretty good. And there she is, and then with the black ink in the hair. Very, very nice. It measures, how tall is this thing? Oh, it's a big one, 12 inches tall. It's over 12 inches tall. It's a good size one. Estimated 800 to 1,000 Canadian. All right, and then other things that are in the sale are this. There's several good pieces of Shibayama in this sale. If you're a Shibayama buyer, you want to definitely check this out. This is one with a basket of flowers or spray of flowers. It's very nicely done. Looks to be in excellent condition on both of these. Very good color. And they've got a bunch of pictures in here, and you can see the bottoms and so forth. There is a stamp mark, I believe, in the bases. There's some sort of mark on the bottom. It's signed Shibayama, Meiji period, blah, 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 and they measure 10 inches in height. So they're good size. They're very nice, nicely done in beautiful condition, 4,000 to 6,000 Canadian. All right, and then hopping along, there's another pair of Shibayama silver, and these are silver and ivory vases. And it's signed by, let me see, Tomomasa is the artist on these, and they measure, what are they, about 9 inches or so? 8.9 inches. I was close. These are quite nice. These are very, very nice. Well divided, and you'll notice that this is how they do them. They do the silver, and they create these frames in the silver, and then within them they put the ivory, and then they add all the decorations onto the surface. These are beautifully done. These are really, really beautifully done. All right, estimated at 3,000 to 4,000 Canadian, and they're worth it. Those are quite nice. And then hopping along over here, you got a couple of paintings. I like this one in particular by Hirosada. This is a pair of women. I think the estimate is very low, 600 to 800 Canadian for the pair. He was a Meiji period artist, Edo period artist rather, and he I forget when he died. Did they say? 1819 to 1863. Those were his active years, I think. But because I think he lived longer than 50 years, 40 or so years. Maybe he didn't. But anyway, these are nicely done. The facial expressions, the pearl white skin, beautifully done, beautiful colors all the way down. It's a pair. I'll be shocked if they go for the estimate and they don't bring $1,000, $1,500 at least. All right, and then over to this, the Yasuda Company Satsuma with the porcelain by Ryozan. This is a nice little box. We've seen these boxes before too. They turn up from time to time. They're very attractive. Great little table boxes. There's the work on them, and the details are very good. This is a snowy landscape scene. Lots of gilding, of course. Nicely done snow on the pine trees, and this mountainous landscape in the background. It's a very attractive box. I like it a great deal. And there it is. There's the gilding on the bronze. Gilt. It's probably a gilt. I'm assuming it's a gilt bronze frame. Maybe it's a porcelain frame. It's hard to tell. But anyway, it's a very, very attractive. And again, estimated fairly modestly at 1,000 to 1,500 Canadian. And in the past, when we've seen these little boxes come up for sale, they do bring pretty good money. They do bring anywhere from 1,500 US to 2,000 US. Especially if they can identify who the maker was in the studio that did them and so forth. And these are both identified, so it makes them quite interesting to the serious collector. All right, so that's sort of it for the week. It's sort of a short video this week because there's not a lot to talk about, and I don't want to just sit here going on and on and on. But I went through. Here's my items list. And you got the Eldred sale coming up. All right, you got some pith paintings and so forth. There's not a lot. If you take a look, these are the things I've set aside to look at. There's a very this is something that if you're a Kutani buyer, speaking of Japanese things, you might want to check this out. This is coming up down down south at Olives and Ogletree in Atlanta, Georgia. Two very interesting sort of bamboo style kutani brush pots. These are quite attractive, very interesting. The kutani workshops did all such interesting things, and they're covered with insects. I think I like those, and the estimate's for nothing, $200 to $400, and they measure 4.5 inches in height each. Those are quite nice. And then you have the Bronx sale coming up in a week or so. They've got a very nice American Chippendale mahogany serpentine desk right there. That's a nice example. I think it is. Let's see, Provenance. Very nice. They don't mention the feet appear to be original. And these came from, this is property of the Brooklyn Museum. The Brooklyn Museum is deaccessioning some furniture, I guess, and they give it to Bronx, which is interesting. They didn't go to any of the bigger auction houses in New York. And these are nice, $2,000 to $3,000 estimate. I think that's a very, very handsome chest of drawers. If you're an Americana buyer, you might want to look into that at Bronx. And there's a very good New England Chippendale walnut dressing table here. That's an unusual thing. And a good, the Captain, what is this? Captain Samuel Guilford's New York Chippendale chest. All right. And then scrolling down a little further, I don't see too much. Oh, this if you buy Republic wares, I mentioned this. Clark Auctions on the 12th has this. This is pretty interesting. This is not a new vase. This is a very, I believe to be Republic period. Turquoise ground, fairly good size, 16.5 inches tall. It's only got 15 people watching it. The estimate is for nothing, $300 to $500. And this looks fine as a Republic piece all the way around. It's got some gilded seal marks and all that doodad business on the back. There it is. There's the bottom. And judging by the foot rim and the color and the way it's done, the shaping and the tone of the enamels, it certainly appears to be a Republic period or maybe late Qing. Hard to say, but it's a nice U-form vase and unusual. And this is molded relief work off the body, obviously, so it makes it kind of interesting. It'll be very tactile to handle and to have in your house. Beautiful to put flowers in a couple of weeks when things start to pop out. We're starting to see some red buds around here, I have to say. And then Bonham's has a sale coming up, ending in a little over almost 2 weeks. There's a few blue and white pieces in there, but they don't have a lot in the sale. There's a lot of jades and odds and ends, but there's a few decent pieces of blue and white coming up on the what is it on the what's the date of that sale? Hold on. Date's on the 16th of April, so you might want to check that out. And those we've talked about. Oh, the Nordblom sale also has this silk. Nice piece of silk. It's fairly large, 24 by 28 inches or something. But a nice looking silk. I love the ground color. Make a great paint color. It's sort of a greenish gray. It looks like you see in French houses. You see this color as a wall color. But at any rate, this is very nicely done. Micro stitched, of course. $300 to $500 estimate. That's at Nordblom's sale coming up, and that's about it. These are fakes being offered by Montana Auctions. I just set it aside because somebody asked me about it. There's a couple of good. There's also an auction house, and a couple of people have called me about it because they're in my area. Ocean Auction House. They've got a sale coming, and I took a look at it the other day, and I couldn't see anything in it that was authentic from what I saw, and they had a lot of things that were seriously misidentified. So if you're looking at something at Ocean Auctions, I would suggest you may want to pass along. Don't do that. They've got some pieces, ridiculous Kangxi calligraphy vases on there, as listed as being authentic and whatnot. With very low estimates. So again, always with these too good to be true sales, they're not true. Okay, it's still going on. There's a lot of stuff being offered still, but what I'm noticing is that increasingly the auction houses that are offering fakes are having much higher sell-through rates. At some point, we'll have to go back and take a look at our old friends friends Eden Gallery and Lauren Galleries down there and see what results they've been getting lately. I never know if anything there actually sells or not, because I've always wondered if they just insert numbers in there to make it look like they sell this stuff. I don't know. But they don't seem to be quite as active as they were in Roswell and those people. There's such shameless people, but at any rate, that's for another day. All right, so that sort of covers it for the week. Thanks for watching. We'll be doing probably another review or so of some of the other results from New York, and we're just going to keep our eyes out and hope something turns up soon, because there's not a lot going on. The Japanese market, though, does seem to be pushing some stuff out. And as I mentioned in the video the other day, I think you're going to see a lot of pretty good Chinese export wares coming up on the market in the next year or two, because these collections that were built up in the 80s and 90s are starting to be resold. That's just the nature of the antique business. Things get collected over a duration of time, and then 20 years later, they come back onto the market when the owners pass away, or they downsize, or the things have been left to the children and they don't want them, they can't use them, and then they put them up for auction again, and then they get resold. It's very cyclical how that happens. And from the 70s to the late 90s, it was a very hot market for all that stuff. And then it cooled off for a while, and now the stuff's coming back into the market, and it'll probably regenerate some interest, because we've seen some Chinese export pieces doing pretty well lately, after about 15 years of the doldrums. So it's an interesting ebb and flow. All right, but don't collect for money. Collect because you love this stuff. All right, thanks for watching. Subscribe here if you haven't. Joined us over on Patreon if you'd like to. We'd love to have the company. And have a great weekend, and we'll be back next week. All right, bye-bye.